Oh, oh, Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरम् ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणी भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुत्सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। Hari Om. So in the fifth chapter, the yoga of renunciation, sorry, we are in the third chapter. I'm confusing it with the Gita chanting class. So in the third chapter, which is Karma Yoga, Bhagwan Sri Krishna has told us about how to work unselfishly with the yagna spirit, working without I and my for the benefit of society, and always being grateful to the devtas, to the lords, the celestial powers for all that they have given us, the weather, the sun, the rain, the grain in the ground, the earth. And this constant connection with the celestial forces is a circle where I express gratitude and then they bless me. And one who follows, Bhagavan says, is an evolved person. One who does not follow and just consumes things for himself, Bhagavan says he's a thief. And he's Aghayu Indriya Rama. He is a sinful person who only thinks about his or her benefit without worrying about society. And then we talked about the men of wisdom, how they are always established in the self. And those who are enlightened masters, which are very few and far between, for them there is no obligatory duties. Even the Vedas cannot tell them what to do. Of course, they do work out of compassion for the rest of us. So Bhagwan today will tell us about how these people work in the world and how we can learn from them. So that is what we will see today. So chapter number 3, shloka number 20. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim
कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम्
आस्थिता जनकादयः
आस्थिता जनकादयः
लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि
लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि
सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
Together. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. So he says, karmana, by karma alone, indeed, he means indeed, samsiddhim asthita. They attain the highest siddhi by karmana. By karma, who Janaka Adaya, Janaka, etc. So who was this Janaka we'll talk about. So there have been many great kings who were also very evolved souls, Brahma, Gyanis, who not only did karma, but with the right knowledge, they attained the highest glory. And for you, why should you work like them? Loka sangraham evapi. Loka sangraha, that's a very beautiful word. We'll go into a little detail about it. It means protection of society, protection of all, for the benefit of all, for the unity of all. And it also means what will be my duty in integrating society. So that is lok sangraham eva api. For that also, sampashyan. Sampashyan means when you see. Sampashyan means having clearly seen this. Kartum arhasi, you should do it. Arhasi means it is your duty, you must do it. So that is arhasi. So he says, people like Janaka, etc., have attained this highest glory, and you also should follow them for the benefit of society, for the integration of society. So Janaka Maharaj was called Videha. Videha means one who is not identified with the body, doesn't think I am the body. He's always established in that I, that consciousness. That is who Janak was. And that's why his Nagri was called Videha Nagri, because Janak Maharaj was the ruler. He was, of course, mother of Sita Ji, and Sita Ji is called Vaidehi. And after having studied from his guru, he became a great Jnani. And Bhagwan tells us, and the masters tell us, that when a Brahma Jnani or a wise person is ruling the kingdom, that kingdom prospers. The kingdom does well. And there's a very beautiful story about Janak Maharaj, who one time, it's so happened that he had his guru, Ashtavakra. And so Janak Maharaj had gone for satsang with his guru. The guru lived in a small hut just at the edge of the kingdom. He didn't want to, of course, live in the palace. And Janak Maharaj used to walk there and go and, learn from his teacher. And when during the satsang, a lot of other monks, Janak Maharaj was very generous. Any monk or spiritual seeker who came, he gave them shelter to live and all. So they were all with him. There were a lot of monks and some sadhus and even some citizens of his country, Mithila. So they were all studying and listening to the Guru. Actually, Janak Maharaj went a little late. He was not there yet. And the Guru said, we'll wait for Janak to come. And others were already there and they thought, he's waiting for him because he's the king, the king. Without the king, he's not going to start. So they had that attitude. So Janak Maharaj came and the teacher started. And in the middle of the discourse, suddenly a soldier ran in that the palace and surrounding buildings are on fire and the treasury is burning and a lot of damage will happen. And the monks who used to live in the little buildings around, all of them left that yagna and ran. Why? Oh, somebody had a begging bowl in that room. He wanted to save it. Somebody had an extra pair of clothes. And everybody ran to save whatever little things they had. Janak Maharaj kept on sitting. He said, if there's a fire to the palace, what do I have to do with it? I have nothing to do with it. I am the Atma, the self. And anyway, people are there taking care of the fire. So he kept on sitting, didn't run. And all of them ran. And then by the time they got there, the fire had been put out. So there wasn't any serious damage. So they all came back. And they found Janak Maharaj alone sitting. Everybody else, even the sadhu with a little begging bowl, he ran to save it or an extra. Then they realized that this person, even though he lives in this kingdom, he's the king, but he has nothing to do with it. He has no attachment. And so that is what we can learn from the lives of these great masters. We have everything, whatever you have, but do not be dependent on things for your joy and sorrow. So Arjuna was also a king, a prince. He was of the royal family. So Bhagwan is giving him Janak's example because he can connect with that. It's like, physics student, his teacher will give him example of Einstein or Oppenheimer because he can relate with that example. Or somebody who wants to play football, he will relate. His coach will tell him, you need to be a quarterback like Joe Montana or, Tom Brady. So whatever we are a businessman starting business, they will tell him, you need to be a businessman, not only for yourself, but be like J.R.D. Tata or be like Bill Gates. You know how many billions of dollars Bill Gates has given to charity, earn, but then share with others. So that's the example that was given to Arjuna, that you should also be like Janak Maharaj, where you work for the benefit of society, but without attachment to things or beings, I, me, and my. And that is Lok Sangraha, that do what is good for the society, for all, but keep yourself always established in that knowledge. And that is how you should work. Last week we had said, Tasmat asakta satatam karyam karma samachara. Do your duties without attachment. And this Lok Sangraha should not only be for humans, but for the entire nature. We should serve and nourish the entire nature as one, not only human beings. I recently read somewhere that when you go on the boardwalks, along the coast, Pacific coast, there are a lot of boardwalks in different parts. And then there are on weekend, there are a couple families sitting there picnicking and all on the boardwalk. And then a lot of them like to fish. So they hang their, fishing rod with the string, with the wire. And there are adults, and then there are people teaching their 6- and 7-year-old girls and boys how to fish. And it is so sad to see because when they pull the fish up, the boy or girl is very happy. Oh, Dad, Mom, look, I caught. They are saying, oh, we are so proud of you. You caught this fish. You are like a chip of the old block. And it is sad to describe, but what they do is when the fish has come out, it is still struggling. They hit it against the board to end its life. It is so sad. And then they pull out the hook, violently from the fish's mouth. So how much pain that fish must be undergoing when she is still alive. But they are very proud of that. So that is what the thing is, that is how, that is called Lok Sangraham, that even every creature, there's a famous poet called Thomas Blake. He says, every robin in a cage puts heavens into a rage. That even putting a bird in a cage, you are disturbing the entire harmony of society, even up to the heavens. Even the gods in heavens are angry that this is happening. So that is what we have to see, that let us not hurt any living creature to the best of our ability, unnecessarily plucking plants, all that. So that is Lok Sangraha. And somebody asked Gurudev, he says, if everybody realizes, this person has barely started on the path of sadhana, and he said, if everybody follows this, if everybody realizes and becomes like Janaka, then who will work in society? How will there be reproduction? Gurudev says, first you start and then you worry about real. And don't worry, even if the ones who realize will be few, but the majority will continue to live like that. So do not worry about that. Worry about your own spiritual growth and how I can contribute to society. So very, very beautiful shloka, gives us lovely examples of how we can live integrating the entire society. And Bhagavan continues in shloka number 21, chapter 3, shloka 21. Yad yadacharati shresthaha
यदाचरति श्रेष्ठः
tattadevetaro janaha
तत्तदेवेतरो जनः
sayat pramanam kurute
स यत्प्रमाणं कुरुते
lokastadanuvartate.
लोकस्तदनुवर्तते
Together, yad yadacharati shresthaha tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. This was one of Gurudev's favorite shlokas, and he made everybody chant 3 times. So we have chanted once, so let us do 2 more times. Yad yadacharati shresthaha tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. Yad yadacharati shresthaha tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. It is a beautiful shloka which people should memorize, which tells us how we should lead and guide others. So a person says, I am not a leader, I am not a guide. How can I guide? So let us see. Yat yat acharati shresthaha. Yat yat, as acharati. Acharati means one who acts or conducts himself. Shresthaha. Shresthaha means an ideal person, a higher person. Yat yat achariti, the way this person conducts himself or the way his actions he does, tat tat eva, in that way, itara janaha, other people will follow. What the ideal person or the advanced person does, others will follow. And saha yat pramanam kurute. And whatever that person believes as pramana, pramana means the proof or the, we'll talk also about pramana later on in this shloka. So yat pramanam kurute, what that person considers as pramana, pramana means the proof, the right knowledge, lokaha tad anuvartate, people follow that. So whatever the wise person does, others follow. And whatever he considers as an example, as the right knowledge, others also understand and follow that. So people will say that that is good for leaders, maybe spiritual heads or some. And it is true for leaders, yes. And we'll talk about leaders at the end. No, but I'm not a leader. I'm just an ordinary person. I, have a family and, spouse and children and grandchildren. So how does this apply to me? Yeah, so maybe to like the president or the prime minister, or governor. How does it? Masters tell us we all are leaders or guides in different places. Like in the family, the father and mother are the guide. They are the leaders. And whatever they do, see, acharati, Bhagwan says, not vadati. What they do, not what they speak. See, people say something, but they themselves don't follow it. They will tell their children, you should behave like this, you should tell the truth, you should be honest. And then when opportunity comes, they will, some little small lie, they will get speak. And the children watch that my mom or dad used to tell me or always tell me to be honest. And look how they are, they are not honest, they are not listening, they are, or they say you should get up in the morning and do some puja and do some prayer, or and they themselves are not. They are, they keep sleeping in, or they are not doing regular puja, regular. So whatever I want my children to follow, that I have to do, and the family will only be nourished because of that. The person said, I don't have any children, my children have moved away, and the grandchildren have also gone. Yeah, but you might be an example to your nephew or niece. You are grown up, but they will say, my uncle or my aunt, this is how that person lived his life. And they will look up to you. So we don't know who will get inspired by our actions, by our teaching. So as we said, more important is how I do, not what I speak. People say something, but then do something else. So he says, acharati, that we should behave as we want others to behave. And children in the beginning, when their child is small, 6, 7, he says, my father, he knows everything. He's my role model, or my mother, she knows everything. Girl will say, she will act like her mother, dress like what mother does, act like, do all those things. And then once they become teenagers, my father and mother don't know anything. I know more. That's the standard. What do they know? But then they look up to somebody else, maybe a sports hero or a film star or some rock, performer or something. So their role model becomes others. And so that's why even for those people, it is very important. If you are a sports leader or a singer or an actor, a lot of people are looking up to you, how you dress, how you, like somebody used to put the cap in the front, and then once a sports guy started putting cap in the back, and everybody now puts the cap in the back. So it is very important for leaders, to always, otherwise we find sometimes these sports people, people look up to them, and then they find out, oh, they were using drugs, and then they are banned for 3 years. Then the child is disillusioned, I used to look up to him. Or in India, this match fixing, these great cricketers got involved in match fixing. Why? Because they were playing for themselves to make money, not for the country. So So it is very important for a person to be always conscious that how am I behaving, and somebody or the other is looking up to me. That is for everyone, no matter what position in life is. And the thing is, children, they look up to these heroes with their behavior, but they don't realize how much hard work they have put in to become a sports star, how much hard work, or a famous singer or a famous actor. It doesn't come easily. They have put in years of work in singing, in practice, in acting, or in sports, coaching, running, and fitness. So that is something that we should point out to the children that, look, these great people, you think they are great and they have achieved a lot, and that is very good. But it's not only how they are behaving, see how they have achieved that success. How much hard work, how many years of training, of physical fitness, gym and exercise and all that, all of them, dancers, those who are in movies and all, are famous Bharatnatyam, dancers, how many years of effort they put before they can do Arangetram. So that is what something we need to learn, and we need to teach our teachers, even those who are successful in politics and all. So many years of effort. They start out with maybe city council, or, and then go to mayor, and then county and state, and then national level. So, or a business person, starts with a small, enterprise, a computer little company, startup, what they call. And then from there, they have become billionaires and all. So one has to see and that is what one has to learn, and that is what one has to see. And same way, for a leader, that has to be his example. The leaders of the community, whether they are of the city or county or state or national level, have to be aware that the whole country or the whole city is following me and living according to that. So that has to be a responsibility for everyone, whether you are a parent or a grandparent or uncle or leader or whatever position you are in. We have a responsibility, and that's what Bhagwan is telling us, that be constantly aware of that, of your responsibility, of your duties. So when you do the right thing, you are not only doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for future generations. You are becoming an ideal to your children, grandchildren. And then Sayat Pramanam Kurute, Bhagwan says, whatever he considers as right knowledge. So Pramanam means, does this or he or she read the Bhagavad Gita? Are they reading the Upanishads? Are they doing regular puja? Are they doing regular sadhana, regular meditation? Are they? So when these things are done in the house, when puja is done, or it creates a lot of positive energy in the house. So one should regularly do some little puja, even for a few minutes or as much time as you have. And doing that, it makes your mind better and improves the atmosphere in the whole house. After in the last few months, I wasn't doing it regularly, but in the last few months, inspired by one of the Swamiji, Swami Aparajitananda, I myself started doing so. About not 7 days a week, but about 4 to 5 days a week. In the evening, I spend about 45 minutes to an hour doing a formal puja of Bhagwan Shiva, Lord Shiva. In the evening when we have classes, then I'm not able to do that, but on days we don't, or when we are not traveling or whatever. I found myself just that process of spending that much time in Bhagwan's presence, it's so calming, the mind is so peaceful after that. And not only that, but even your study, even your meditation gets better when your mind is calm with this kind of thing, puja. Then regular meditation in the morning, your mind is calmer because it kind of pervades the whole atmosphere. So that is what, and also studying, am I studying Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, whatever I consider as pramana, whatever I consider as the ideal, that knowledge I should get. So regular study of the scripture is very important before we go to bed. Last thing should not be the cell phone or the computer or the laptop. The last thing I see should be a book, a print book, not even that on that. Because again, those light, from this laptop, computer, phone and all are stimulating. So pick up a paper book and in your bed or in your chair, recliner, sit and read something good. So when you sleep with those thoughts of God, of right conduct, then that will stay with you throughout. Your dreams will be more peaceful and your mind will be more on God. And when you wake up in the morning and meditate, then those beautiful thoughts will come to you in meditation. So that's what it says, that whatever you consider as pramanam, then you can pass it on. Like when a couple is getting married, I may have told it before, along with giving them a check or a gift certificate, give them the Bhagavad Gita. Gurudev's read copies of the Bhagavad Gita and just tell them that you're starting your married life, read this. And this will be a good guide. There are also other books about how to live ideal married life, ideal parenting. There are so many books in our bookstore, in the library. So using those as gifts, or when we give to children also. So the point is that what we consider as the right knowledge, if we share it, then it will inspire the young people also. So that is what the shloka number 21. Now 22 and 23, Bhagavan gives his own example, how Bhagavan Sri Krishna lived in the world. And so we'll do them. So number 22. न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यम्
न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यम्
त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन
त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन
नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यम्
नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यम्
वर्त एव च कर्मणि
वर्त एव च कर्मणि
न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यम् त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यम् वर्त एव च कर्मणि. O Partha, O Arjuna, न मे कर्तव्यम्. न मे कर्तव्यम्. There is nothing that I have to do. That is a requirement for me to be done. Because he is, of course, the Supreme Lord. So he says, for me, there is no duty that I have to do. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. In all the three worlds, because Bhagwan has created and the world is now being maintained by his energy, he doesn't need to do anything. And he says, na anavaptam avaptavyam. Avaptamya means that which should be attained. Anavaptavyam means has not been attained. So there is nothing that needs to be attained, has not attained by me. Because Bhagwan is all perfect. He has done everything that needs to be done. But he says, but varte. Varte means I. Eva, varte, the A is missing because of Sandhi rule. But varta eva, I am so involved in karmas. Bhagwan Sri Krishna says, varte eva cha karmani. And if we think of Sri Krishna's life, constant work, constant struggle, nothing. I mean, he never sat down for a moment, okay, mera kaam ho gaya. Never. He was born, he was separated from his parents, had to go to Gokul and live with Mother Yashoda. And then as from childhood, so many demons he had to fight. He was attacked constantly and, constantly. And Kansa was looking for him, sending all his soldiers and all. And then as he grew up, then he, became, used to take the cows for grazing, do all the work, go in the morning, come back in the evening in the heat, walking. And then he became friends with the gopas and gopis, and they all loved him. And he used to play the flute, and they used to enjoy. And then around 12 years of age, they say until 12, the Supreme Brahman was manifesting in him. After 12, he was avatar of Bhagwan Vishnu. So his status, he was still, of course, Supreme Lord, but Brahman was manifesting till age 12. Above 12, it was Bhagwan Vishnu. So he goes and then he has to fight Kamsa and kill him, because Kamsa was evil and torturing the whole kingdom. And so he and Balram went and fought, and they killed Kamsa and his brother. And then he could have become king of Mathura, Mathura, but he said, no, this kingdom belongs to Ugrasen, Kamsa's father. So he easily could have become king of Mathura. They would have all accepted it. He said, no, this is Ugrasen's kingdom. Kamsa had put his father in jail, Ugrasen. So he freed him from the jail and says, you run the kingdom. So he leaves the kingdom. He goes to Dwarka. Dwarka was nothing there at that time, and he established a kingdom there. He worked hard and, established a kingdom of Dwarka. And people came and started living, became a very prosperous state. And then what does he do? Once the kingdom is functioning, he gives it to the Varshnis, the Varshni clan. He says, now you run this kingdom, and he leaves. Then he's traveling and doing all those things. Then he goes to Hastinapur, where the Pandavas are having problems. So he helps the Pandavas. And, when all the problems that came when they were going to be burnt, he warned them and all those things. He helped them. He helps Draupadi when she is being molested by the Kauravas. And all those things he does. And then when the Arjun needs help, he drives his chariot. He becomes a chauffeur, even though he's the supreme lord of the three worlds. And he's the king. He himself is king of Dwarka, who has left the kingdom. As a king and as the lord, he becomes a charioteer, a chauffeur for Arjuna. Why? Because Arjuna was his devotee and requested. And then while the charioteer faces all the arrows come first to the charioteer, and the master of the chariot is riding behind. And then at the end of the day, Arjuna used to go and sleep because he is fought or tired. Bhagwan has also been busy, but then he goes and washes the wheels of the chariot, washes the horses, massages them with oil. After everything is done, then Bhagwan sleeps. So he says, I actually don't need to do anything. I am the Supreme Lord, but varte eva cha karmani. I am also constantly working, and not for a day ever. Bhagwan says, okay, my work is done. So the point is that is how we learn. You would say, oh, he's Bhagwan. He may be Bhagwan, but he worked like an ordinary human, doing all the things. Imagine taking care of horses and, doing all those. But people might think, hey, this is a low work, Why couldn't he find anybody else? He says, no, these are my horses. I drive them. And lovingly, he took care of them. So that is an example of how we should see that Bhagwan, even though he didn't have to, he did that. And that's what they say. Bhagwan, the Supreme Lord, appears from time to time as different incarnations to teach us how we should work. He came as Bhagwan Sri Ram, Bhagwan Sri Krishna as God, but then he came as great masters, Buddha, Jesus, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, so many different incarnations he has taken. Ramakrishna Paramhans, Swami Vivekananda, Tapovan Maharaj, Pujya Gurudev. Again and again, he says, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever dharma is on the decline and adharma is becoming more powerful, more important, then I present myself, I manifest myself, I appear with all these forms as great masters, great teachers, great, yogis. We find some of the yogis can do so many elaborate, asanas, and they are so physically adept. Some of them even can do miracles. So all those are manifestation of that, and to small or a bigger extent, all of these are manifestations of that supreme reality. And Bhagwan manifests, but also we should not forget Bhagwan has manifested as us. We are not only this body, mind, intellect, we are Om. Om is our true nature. So in my limited way, I am also a manifestation of that Brahman, of that supreme reality. And my essential nature, what I really am, is Om. So that's why they say Aham Brahmasmi. That's why the teacher tells Tattvamasi, you are that. You are not only this body, mind, intellect, you are that supreme reality, that Brahman. And the student understands as Aham Brahmasmi. I am also Brahman. I am Brahman does not mean I am God or I can create the world. All I can create is only confusions. But what it means is I also am a manifestation. So I also have to live according to that. If I am divine, if God is in me, I have to see how my actions will please God, how I should act like that. That divinity that is in me should come out. That is so that whatever I do should be a glory of Bhagwan, should not make bring this knowledge down, should not bring whatever I have studied, whatever I have learned in the Gita, I should be able to adopt it, to live it. And that is what pramanam, that is what should be our ideal, should be our goal. So seeing these masters, you see how they work in the world. Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji did not have to work. His master had told him when he attained enlightenment in Uttarkashi, he said, just stay here. You can stay in this beautiful Himalayas, meditate, and whoever wants to study will come. And that's how Tapovan Maharaj was. See, each master has a different way of working after enlightenment. But Gurudev said, no, I feel that my duty is to go down to the plains. As we said, he was inspired by Gangaji, Mother Ganga, how Mother Ganga comes from the Himalayas and nourishes the whole Indo-Gangetic plain, the whole north of India gets nourished. And she spreads her water and her blessings for the entire northern India. So he says, same way, I feel the people of India need this knowledge. Because he was surprised, in those days, this was around late 1940s, around 1948, 40. The wisdom he got from his teacher, Tapovan Maharaj of the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, he says in those days, this knowledge was not widely available, because people, they didn't have internet, they didn't have books, that many books, and there weren't that many teachers who were teaching this knowledge, and most people were living in ignorance. Of course, Swami Vivekananda had spoken for a while around, in the early 1900s, but then he passed away at a very early age. And so not that many people had benefited from it. So Swami Chinmayananda says, I have to spread this knowledge. And then from 1950 till 1993, 43 years, not a single day he rested. He never took a day off, except, of course, when he had the heart bypass. for a few days or when he was seriously ill. But most of the time, day to night, he would wake up early in the morning, sleep only 3 hours. He would meditate himself. Then he would be answering letters from the devotees. He would write by hand. In those days, they didn't have, typing, computer and all that. He would answer letters by hand and mail them himself. He would make sure if the envelope is and then throughout the day, he would be giving talks. He would be traveling from one country to another, one city to another, giving discourses in the morning, in the evening, and then writing books, Bhagavad Gita, and all those. A lot of them were written by him by hand. Some of these volumes are devotees have compiled from his talks, and so no rest. He used to say, if I rest, I rust. And so that's how he lived his life. He constantly worked till he used to say that I want to die with my working boots on. Even till the last day, when he suffered his final heart attack in San Diego, he had just finished a discourse. And actually, I saw him a few weeks before he passed. I went to a lecture and I happened to be in the backstage. Somehow I was there. And so they used to bring him in the wheelchair because by then his heart was barely functioning and he couldn't even breathe properly. So they would bring him by wheelchair to the stage. And normally he would, just sit and talk. But because he was so sick, they would cover the curtain. Then when he's on the stage, the curtain would be open. That was only in the last stages. Otherwise, he used to just sit. And he couldn't even breathe, and I was wondering, how will he speak for an hour and a half? And the moment he would start talking, he would be roaring like a lion. And it's this same person, he couldn't breathe. He was on oxygen, and now 1 hour without break, like a lion, he would be roaring. And then I myself saw it. He was in such a bad shape that at the end, they would close the curtain so people couldn't see. And the moment his talk was over, he would collapse. He couldn't breathe, like that. And they would rush and put oxygen and, revive him. Collapse means not become unconscious, but he just couldn't breathe. He couldn't. That condition he was, but what gave him that strength to talk for an hour when he couldn't even breathe normally? And then they would wheelchair take him off the stage. So the point is that he worked ceaselessly for the rest of us. So that's what we should learn from these masters. And we should tell Bhagwan, oh Bhagwan, we will do our job so you don't have to take another incarnation. We will do what is good for us and for others. So Bhagwan shouldn't have to trouble to come. So that is what he says. There is nothing for me to do, but I still work. And then why he says, why do I still work? In number 23, it is a continuation of 22. Yadi hyaham na varteyam jatu karmanyatandritah mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah yadi hyaham na varteyam jatu karmanyatandritah mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. Yadi means in case he indeed aham na varteyam. If I don't work as I have been, as we said, how Bhagavan Krishna worked, if I don't work, jatu ever, karmani in actions, atandritaha means without fatigue, without saying, I'm tired now, I don't want to work anymore. People say, I'm done now, I'll just relax, spend my time on the beach. No, Bhagavan never said that. He was living in Dwarka. The beach was right there. He said, no, I am not going to relax. I have to keep working. So if I don't work without rest, then what will happen? Mama vartma anuvartante. My path, vartma anuvartante. People will follow. Manushya. O Partha, O Arjuna, Sarvasha. So all people will say, oh, Sri Krishna worked for a while, but now he's sitting and doing nothing. So why should we work? So he says, my path, others will follow. And that's what happens. As we said, great masters, what they do, others follow. What example they set. And we have to see how Swami Vivekananda worked, how everybody and how much, the Vinoba Bhave, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. These are our role models, how they worked to for the benefit of their country, for the benefit of society, without rest. And atandritaha means without taking rest, without gap, without a break. Like Puja Gurudev, and think about it, Puja Gurudev started that movement, and today we are sitting here in the city of Bakersfield, in a small city or medium-sized city in California and discussing, studying Bhagavad Gita. How blessed we are. Because one master, not only he taught it, but he made sure that the organization was set up. So every Chinmaya mission follows the similar bylaws and the similar policies. Similar books are being taught. The method of teaching is very similar. If you go to any Chinmaya mission, you will find the same Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, the method of teaching, chanting, all that. So the whole order, the bylaws, whole thing is set up. So that's what they say, that the masters are the role models and we have to follow them. And that's why people will say, why should I work extra? Why should I do anything for society? I'm taking care of I, me, and myself. They say, no, that's not enough. Like Bhagavan, even in the previous shlokas, he has said that one who only works for himself, he is a thief, he is a criminal. It is a duty for us to help others, to share with others. Physically, if we can help, like some people can work hard and, they build homes for humanity. Like Jimmy Carter, after he retired, even he was so old, he used to himself get up on the roof and hammer nails and to build homes for humanity. Ex-president, he didn't have to work. He would have had a beautiful pension, a nice house and everything, car and all that. But he said, no, that's not my job. I'm finished my presidency. I still have to work for society. And almost till the end, till he could not work, he used to do that. So that is how we learn from these, not only see what he did, but after presidency, he could have just retired and done nothing. And some people do that, they just enjoy a travel and, eat, drink and relax. Yeah, one should relax and travel and enjoy, not that. But that should not be the only, was each one of us has certain abilities, which we can use even after retirement. Maybe you can become a guide or a role model or a consult, help others. So that is what it is said that is what our duty should be. So constantly one should look, how can I help others? How can I help society? And I heard a very beautiful story. So there was this Mahatma and he had an ashram. And so he was a very evolved teacher, very, 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 very spiritually evolved and a great Mahatma. And so students used to come and study with him. So at any time, there would be 10, 15 students. And they would come for Brahma Vidya. He would teach them Upanishads and so on, and Brahma Sutras and all, Bhagavad Gita, of course. And so one day he was walking into his lecture hall and he found a piece of paper on the floor and some dirt. I guess the janitor didn't clean very well. So some dirt was there. So he walked and the students walked after him. He saw the dirt and the newspaper and they also saw the students. And they said, ये कचरा उठाना हमारा काम नहीं है. We are here for Brahma Vidya. Our job is not to pick up kachra, not to pick up dirt. We are not here for this job. We are here for Brahma Vidya. And he noticed that not one of the students stopped. So he went a little further. He turned around, picked up a broom and started sweeping. This great Swami, and everybody, oh, no, 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 you please don't do it. We'll do it. Then suddenly, so that is the idea that what the great person does becomes an example. And so constantly one has to, and as I said, that you don't know whom will be inspired by your actions. So in your family, in your community, in your city, wherever I can help. So that is what the wise people do. And that's how we see from Bhagwan Sri Ram's example. Again, he was the Supreme Lord manifested. But in Valmiki Ramayana, Valmiki ji has shown him as an ordinary human being. Couple of places, maybe little incidents about, but mostly he was an ordinary human being. And how an ordinary human being should live in life, that we can learn from Bhagwan Sri Rama, how obedient he was to his parents. Before that, how he went with Valmiki Rishi to kill those demons that were torturing them, not letting them do yajnas. He and Lakshman went. And then when before coronation, his father, his stepmother asks him to go to the forest and give the kingdom to Bharat. He happily does that. He says, this is my father and mother's order. My father had promised my stepmother, I have to do. Willingly he leaves, spends 14 years in the forest. It's hard life to live in the forest. When he was a king, he actually left all his jewelry, his wealth, fine clothes, and wore the clothes of a monk, and left his chariot and everything, and then just walked through the forest for so many years, and eating fruits and vegetables and all. And he and Lakshman themselves, Lakshmanji, pretty much built a cottage where they were staying, and then all the demons, Khara, Dushan and all who came, how he destroyed them. And then of course when Sita ji was kidnapped, then he fought Ravana. Actually, his main purpose of this birth was to destroy Ravana, because Ravana was not only the king of Lanka, but he was torturing the devas. He had so much power that when he did tapas, he was blessed. He said, no one should be able to kill me. So Bhagwan Shiva, to whom he had done tapas, he said, I cannot say no one. You have to have somebody. He says, devas, danavas, Rakshasas, nobody, warrior. He said, no, devas, danavas, Rakshasas, yes, you do. He said, okay, only humans and monkeys should be able to kill me. He said, humans I can easily handle, and monkeys, what will they do? He said, okay, two things humans and Bhagwan Shiva says, Tathastu, he's gone. And that's why a human came, Bhagwan Ram came in the human form without using any of his powers. Bhagwan Rama had all the powers of Bhagwan Vishnu, but he didn't use any of them. He took the help of monkeys and then fought that war and the war. And also so many problems. Lakshman ji became unconscious. He almost died. And then at the end, when Ramchandra ji wins the war, he gives all the credit to the monkeys. That if it wasn't for these monkeys, Sugriva and his army and Hanumanji, I would have never won. So after winning everything, doing everything, after destroying Ravana, he still gives credit to the monkeys, and he doesn't keep the kingdom. He could have become king of Sri Lanka and Ayodhya, both, because and Sri Lanka was such a prosperous kingdom, so much wealth they had. They used to call it city of gold, that much wealth, because Ravana had got wealth from all the devtas and everybody. In fact, Ravana used to ask the devas to sweep his palace. That much power he had that. So that's why the devas went to Bhagwan Vishnu that please save us from Ravana. He's making us work as servants in his palace. And that's why Bhagwan Vishnu appeared as Sri Rama too. So And then he left the kingdom, came back to Ayodhya and established Ram Rajya, which is till today considered an example of how a king should rule. So he was an ideal husband, ideal son, ideal, a friend to Sugriv. And he was an ideal enemy even to Ravana. Even at the end, he tells Ravana that you just return Sita ji to me and we will leave. Our army will all leave. Even the Ravana was almost defeated. So he was an ideal king. Everything he lived as an ideal. So that's what they say. That is how. So today's talk is basically telling us how we should live our life, and each one of us can be a role model, and we should learn from the lives of these great masters. On Nehru's desk, there was this saying from a great scholar: lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. So that's what masters remind us, how we can make our life sublime and leave an example for others. We'll end here. Very, very beautiful, very practical shlokas. So I'll wait for any comments, either from the audience here or from Zoom. Yeah, go ahead, Krishna. I think he didn't give the mic. Maybe you can come.
I can talk loud.
Yeah, just come close here. So,
So, Hari Om. What I learned today is, this is Krishna. What I learned today is great leaders in the past. I was watching Chinmaya Nandaji when I was thinking about all, when you were talking this. In the past has attained liberation through their selfless actions. Then the great leaders influence others by their actions.
right.
Then the third sloka is, even though Krishna Bhagavan says he's the supreme being and he doesn't have desires or anything to achieve in all these worlds, but he still does the action.
Right.
The fourth sloka says that if he does not do action, it can lead to chaos. What he meant is,
Right.
if he does not perform actions, others will follow that, saying that, and they will not follow the action
Right.
also, and it can cause destruction of dharma or a disturbance of righteousness.
Thank you. That's very good. Yeah, Bhagavan, next week, the first shloka, he will talk more about how society will disintegrate. Exactly. Thank you. How about from Zoom? Anybody has any comments or questions? You're able to unmute? Yes or no? Yeah, go ahead, Carrie.
Well, I was just thinking, I've heard a few people before talk about, abandoning action and how, and these verses warn how dangerous that can be, because some people think that, well, I need to detach, and not, to withdraw from the world and from life, and we all need to be very careful that we don't fall into that trap.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true. Yeah, that's what it teaches us, that we always have to work even till the end and work for others. Loka sangraha, that's a very, very powerful term for the integration of society, for the protection of society, for bringing everyone together. And for me to, if you look sangraha, if you Google that word, it has beautiful 5 meanings. And one of them is, how can I manifest my divinity in the world? So Google that and you will find its beautiful meanings. I was reading that this morning. So yeah, very true. Thank you.
Anilji, I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question.
Now go ahead.
When you say detach, what exactly that means? I mean, we have family, friends, relatives. When if anyone gets hurt or gets sick, we do run or we do
Right.
come in to help them. Um, how do you detach?
See, detach does not mean you don't do your duty, and does not mean you don't love your near and dear ones. We said you have to not only love and near and dear ones, but the entire society, animals, other humans, fish, everybody you should love. So detachment does not mean not working. Detachment does not mean not loving. What
Okay.
detachment means that not depending on things or beings for my happiness. That's number one. Number two, not working only for what is attachment, I plus I want. When I work for I and I want, then I become attached to that object, to that situation.
Okay.
Detachment means I'm not working for I and I want, I'm working for the benefit of society. And whatever happens in the world does not affect my well-being. See, the wise people are very tuned to the misery of all, but to their own discomfort, they remain detached. They say, okay, yeah, does not mean that they don't take care of their physical health and mental health, but they do not let physical or mental problems influence them to such an extent that they become disheartened, depressed. They say physical ho raha hai, theek hai, it is my karmas, it is my duty, and whatever is required, they will do. Same way mentally, if there's joys and sorrows, they are able to watch their mind and watch their mind as a witness, watch their body as a witness, that whatever is happening to the body is not happening to me. Why? Because I am Om. I am that consciousness, Atma. And this body is my equipment. And just as my car is my equipment, if the car breaks down, I don't start crying and say, I broke down. I go and fix it. So same if the body breaks down, I don't say I am destroyed. I take care of the health or physical. And same way mentally, if somebody says something or doesn't say something, I remain calm and continue to be established, connected with Bhagwan within. If you are connected with that Supreme Lord within, then people or situations or objects cannot influence you. And same way, whatever I have, my house, my car, my property, my wealth, is all Bhagwan's. Bhagwan has given it for me to use. And if tomorrow, if it goes away, he took it back. I had a lot of money, the stock market crashed or whatever, and my money is gone. So the person is able to remain calm and unruffled in all the ups and downs of life. Life will always give problems. Everybody's life has problems. Kabhi kisi ko mukammal jahan nahi milta. There's that famous ghazal. I've said that before also. Nobody's life is perfect. Life will have problems, but I should be able to remain connected with God and deal with life. But for others, I should be loving and kind and compassionate. Again, not with attachment. I help somebody and now that person should be my slave. No, I did my duty, I'm gone. That's it. So that attitude is detachment.
Okay.
I hope that answers.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
I think if I may add that to Anilji's beautiful explanation. So detachment, even I struggle with that a lot. So detachment means that we do everything with whatever God-given abilities are there and do the best of our knowledge and do the process and the journey, but not being attached to the outcomes. And
Yeah.
do the best to our knowledge, to the kids or whatever it is, but surrender to God
Yes.
about the outcomes.
Very nice. Yeah, the outcome is not in my hand, it is in his hand. Thank you. And without being attached that I did it, so I must get something. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Okay, I think we'll end here. Time is almost up. So we'll continue next week. Thank you everyone for joining, either in person or in Zoom. We'll end with a closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhave. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you very much. Hari Om.